2025. On October 11, 2025, under the cover of night over the Gulf of Mexico, the United States launched.
Inside, it was packed with over 3 tons of methamphetamine and cocaine.
On the black market, that amount of methamphetamine alone was worth nearly $400 million, enough to poison an entire U.S. state.
Accompanying the sub were 2 escort boats carrying nearly 25 cartel gunmen. They moved alongside the submarine until it reached its rendezvous point with the Venezuelan cartel, where no network. They believed the ocean would protect them. They were wrong. From the north, the U.S. Navy patrol vessel Hamilton and 4 Navy RIV assault boats surged through the waves overhead.
An MH-60S Seahawk helicopter circled low, its GAAU-21 heavy machine gun aimed straight at the sea.
Would the U.S. task force break this cartel deal, or would they vanish back into the darkness?
Let me show you the truth right now.
The Gulf looked like a sheet of glass darkly. During a routine radar scan, the Coast Guard's Area Mobility Command spotted a faint anomaly on its screen. An unidentified moving black dot traveling at just 6 knots, half submerged. No AIS beacon, no radio contact, just a ghost drifting through U.S. waters. Within minutes, data from a Navy P-8A Poseidon aircraft confirmed it. A low heat signature, and a regular... By 2:25 a.m., the command center at Naval Station Pensacola was awake. Intelligence analysts had cross-checked the satellite signals, and what they found froze the room.
The object was the size of a Narco submarine, a semi-submersible vessel used by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel.
At street value, the amount of methamphetamine and cocaine was worth nearly $400 million, enough to poison an entire state.
The bay was calm, moonless, and the radar signals were erratic.
Someone down there was playing hide-and-seek with the world's most advanced naval force.
Start shadow tracking.
At 2:40 a.m., Commander Rachel Decker gave the order. Start shadow tracking.
No one on the bridge spoke. Outside, the waves were a still murmur. Somewhere beneath the black water, $1 billion secret was approaching America.
3 a.m. The order was given in absolute silence. Watch. Do not attack.
By 3:12 a.m., the USCGC Hamilton had switched to passive sonar.
It wasn't a biological pulse. It was a propeller.
The Narco sub was alive and moving east at 7.4 knots deeper than expected, just 60.
From the sky, a U.S. Navy MQ-9 Reaper transmitted infrared data every 90 seconds.
Evidence of a hidden engine running at full power. In the operations room at Naval Station Pensacola, the data lit up like a heartbeat. 3 agencies, the U.S. Navy, the Coast Guard Intelligence Agency, and the DEA Maritime Task Force, were now tracking the same moving black dot.
What they saw next stunned even the veterans. The sub was not alone.
Inside those radio pulses, analysts detected
intercepts into port 38 AM and in respect to flight, so satellite system is it takes pleasure.
Its course matching the submarine's expected intercept point. It was a floating rendezvous point for delivering drugs to the American city.
If the Narco sub reached that ship, 3 tons of methamphetamine worth nearly $400 million would disappear into global.
The mission is no longer surveillance. It is a countdown to attack.
High above, an MQ-9 Reaper locked its thermal camera on the target, marking a 30-foot-long black shape skimming the waves at 8 knots, low and fast.
Commander Rachel Decker's voice came over the encrypted channel. Calm, determined, absolute. Execute phase Delta.
The 3 ships moved as one. The USCGC Hamilton accelerated to 28 knots, cutting like a knife through the Gulf.
4 speedboats carrying 60 sailors disembarked, each carrying 8 agents armed with M4 carbines, MK.
Overhead, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter swooped in from the east, its headlights streaking white across the Gulf of Mexico. For a split second, the crew saw it. A round, dark hull gliding smoothly through the water, spray-lapping around the bridge. 4:01 a.m. The chase broke out, but 2 nearby escorts opened fire first.
On the Hamilton, Navy gunners returned fire with .50 caliber guns. Bursts of fire lighting up the sea like lightning. Above, a Seahawk helicopter banked sharply, its .50 caliber GAU-21 roaring.
One of the escorts exploded in a storm of fire and shrapnel and debris that scattered across the waves.
4:07 a.m. On the Arhibs, 12 agents fought against the spray of water as they closed in.
They leaped onto the submarine's slippery steel hull. Skates on, helmets gleaming in the chaos.
Open them now!
Inside, chaos and chemical fumes and 2,060 pounds of crystal meth and liquid cocaine.
The gun battle lasted more than 6 minutes. By the end, 3 smugglers were dead, 5 were captured alive.
As the sub crippled, its listless roof blazed. Flames spread across the ocean, painting the waves a fiery orange.
Target located. Package secured.
And in that moment, only the ocean answered, carrying the last echoes of a...
The gun battle was fierce, but the question is, what will happen when the American soldiers set foot on this giant ship? Let's continue to follow.
4:05 a.m. aboard USCGC Hamilton en route to Pensacola Naval Air Station. The Gulf was still smoldering when the boarding lights came on.
What had looked like a crude steel coffin from afar turned out to be a marvel of criminal engineering. A $2.8 million custom-built Narco sub hand-welded in a jungle workshop somewhere along Colombia's Pacific coast. Its entire hull was coated with radar-absorbing paint, the same polymer used on military drones.
The machine wasn't improvised. It was engineered to disappear.
At 5:47 a.m., divers entered through the cracked hatch. The smell of fuel, salt, and burnt chemicals stung the air. Inside the control bay, there were no digital displays, only 3 Soviet-era gauges, a compass, and an improvised throttle.
Yet, hidden beneath the floorboards, investigators found a lithium-ion battery array weighing nearly 2.
Each cell was stamped with Chinese markings. Shenzhen Dynamics Corporation.
Forensics confirmed the payload, 2,240 pounds of methamphetamine, and 480 liters of cocaine base.
Total street value $417 million, enough to supply 8.5 million doses, the population of New York City.
But the real shock came in the engine compartment. A black box labeled NAV-02 was found wired to the control system.
It was the third.
By 6 a.m., the crew of the Hamilton stood in silence. The sub wasn't a fluke. It was a prototype.
When the hatch finally closed, the truth was inescapable. This wasn't a smuggler's craft. It was a weapon. A billion-dollar fleet disguised as shadows, built for a war America didn't yet see coming.
8 a.m. October 12, 2025. Pensacola Naval Air Station, Florida.
The sun rose over the Gulf like nothing had happened. But the men aboard the USCGC Hamilton knew better.
The air still smelled of diesel and burnt salt. The captured Narco sub, half submerged in listing, was at 8:10 a.m. The debrief began inside the operations hangar at Pensacola Naval Air Station. The numbers hit harder than any gunfire.
Bonds are destroyed. One child and 2 men were
3 cartel members dead, 5 in custody, and 1 American sailor wounded but alive.
But the shock wasn't the battle. It was what came next.
One log dated September 22nd showed that it succeeded, 20 undetected.
By 9:15 a.m., the DEA, Naval Intelligence, and Homeland Security convened a joint briefing.
Satellite analysis revealed a disturbing pattern. 12 identical narco subs had each vessel cost about $3 million to build, powered by commercial-grade lithium batteries smuggled through China.
Together, the network could move up to 40 tons of narcotics per year, a $5 billion pipeline crossing the Caribbean.
This isn't smuggling anymore. It's an arms race underwater.
That afternoon, the Navy raised alert levels across the Gulf. Patrol flights doubled. Coast Guard civilian vessels were warned to report any low-profile craft within 200 nautical miles of the U.S. shoreline. But even with the victory, no one on the Hamilton felt relief, because every sailor there knew. For every narco sub caught, another was already being built. And beneath the calm, blue surface of the Gulf, October 13th, 2025, Gulf of Mexico. By the next morning, the Gulf looked peaceful again.
The waves rolled softly under a pale orange sky, and the sea breeze carried no trace of the chaos that...
Yet everyone who had been out there knew the quiet was an illusion. The wreck of the Narco sub now rested in 60 feet of water, guarded by Navy divers collecting evidence. But what it represented was massive. A $415 million shipment, a link in a network worth billions.
They were no longer just smugglers. They were engineers, strategists, and financiers of a new kind of war. In Washington, analysts were already briefing Congress. The phrase narco-submarine threat corridor appeared for the first time in official reports.
Plans were drawn to fund new surveillance grids across the Gulf. More drones, more sonar stations, more patrols.
But every expert in the room knew the truth. Technology could only delay what was already coming.
For the sailors of the USCGC Hamilton, victory felt hollow. 1 wounded, 5 prisoners, 3...
How many more were still out there? How many nights would end the same way, with fire on the water and silence at dawn?
As the ship turned back toward port, Commander Rachel Decker stood on the bridge, watching the horizon.
Let them come. We'll be waiting.
She lowered her radio and spoke quietly, not to her crew, but to the ocean itself. Let them come, she said. We'll be waiting.
And the waves answered in silence, carrying her words into the deep.
If you believe America's strength must never be silenced, then show your support. Like this video,